If you're like me and you've watched a bunch of those really good West Coast swing dancers here on YouTube and wondered, why don't I look quite that good? You're in the right place. Today, Megan and I are going to bring you the 5 tips for success in West Coast swing. My name is Brian B.
I'm Miss Megan.
Now, just for some context, I've looked at this through the lens of looking at newcomer Jack and Jills. Those are the ones that don't pop up in your YouTube feed, but that's a good proxy to what a normal, regular West Coast swing social dancer would look like, and compare that against the all-star West Coast swing dancers. Those are the ones that pop up on our feed, and I've come up with 5 unique things that you can focus on. Let's get to tip number 1. All right, Miss Megan, tip number 1. What is the first hoop that we need to jump through for success in West Coast swing?
Timing.
All right, so here's what I mean about timing, and there's 2 parts to this. The first part is literally staying on time. And you might be thinking, I've got that, Brian, but maybe you don't. So obviously 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. 2, 4, 6, and 8 are always whole beats. But let's talk about the triple in between, because I can dance on time here, sort of, and be a little bit rushed, and we're a little bit off time. We still completed the pattern in 6 counts, so it counts as on time, but not really. Here's what I want to talk about. Let's do my triple step. If we dance a triple step, we're going to divide that into 2 half beats. It's a half beat, and a whole beat. That's what we would count 1 and 2. So we're dividing it in half. Half, half, whole, half, half, whole. If Megan dances half, half, whole, half, half, whole, half, half, whole, you can see that my footwork is stuttered. That comes up a lot in West Coast swing, and you want to do that only on purpose, and the cool kids do it on purpose. Say in a tuck turn to accelerate 1, 2, and 3, 4. They accelerate things, but the rest of us, as our vanilla, we should be dancing whole beat, half, half, whole, half, half, whole beat, half, half, whole beat, half, half, whole. West Coast swing is super fun, but let's face it, it gets complicated fast. That's why we created our free West Coast swing ebook to give you access to all the answers in one place. You can grab it in the description below or the QR code right here. So make sure you're not, I would call it stutter stepping a lot of your patterns. We see this a lot where people are a little bit rushed in the footwork, and it's a little bit rushed between us, and we're doing the pattern. So for your timing, obviously stay clear and on time. If you got a problem with that, you can look up our timing video here. We did that a little bit ago. Number 2 is focus on the half, half, whole, and you might count in your head. Whole beat, half, half, whole, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So that way 2, 4, 6, and 8 are always whole beats. But now let's talk about part number 2, because this is where it gets a little bit more fun. All right, tip number 2 doesn't have a title. It's the number 1 thing that followers do wrong and the number 1 thing that leaders do wrong. And so we're going to say leaders and followers, but really I think this is a followers first problem followed by the leaders. I don't know which one is at fault. You tell me in the comments below. But it basically is that the follower doesn't go and makes the leader do all the work, which, spoiler alert, that means the leaders end up pulling. Here's where this shows up. Can you explain it to us, Miss Megan?
Yeah, so followers, if you are really hanging back in this connection and you're waiting for your leader to move you, that is not going to be very easy for either one of you, because that's when you start to get pulled back and forth to get, well, the leader's trying to get you to move. When you feel an initiation in the direction, you are meant to just go until you get a signal to stop or to do something else.
So this is going to come in a couple of different places. Let's use some of our basic patterns because that's where we're going to dance the most. I'll do it from this side. Side passes, right side passes. We call this getting skinny, where Megan goes right through to get to the other side, doesn't make me pull her across. So once I initiate that, she's going on her own to get to the other side. Second place this crops up is in whips. I see the leaders manhandling the whips. And we're going to talk about the things that we do wrong as the leaders and some of the things that we can do better depending upon the different followers. But the rule for the whip is there's a stop point over here. Megan's job is to get to that stop point. My job is to send her back. This was a little bit off script, but that's one of the things that will make your West Coast swing look better, the follower moving between those connection points. If we do this boring out of beginner class, I'm leading every step, and it looks kind of boring. And again, that's good, but it doesn't look YouTube inspiring worthy. A better way is for Megan to get to this connection point all on her own, and she's moving rather quickly through the middle. She's moving rather quickly through the middle, and you get this slower, chill move on the other side, which we're going to get to by the end of the video, how this all works together. So that is point number 2 for the followers. The other one is in spins. And Megan didn't know I was going to talk about this, but your job is to complete your spin by yourself. The end of your spin, let's call it on 3 and 4. 1, 2, you spin yourself, land on 4, look for the connection, anchor, step. So 3 places you can focus on for the followers is all your basic patterns. You move in a sugar push to get to that connection. Don't make the leader move you, because then it's going to segue to what we do wrong as leaders, and I'm going to cover that in just a second. But followers, move to get to that connection point in your pushes. Even sugar tucks, same thing. You're moving to get to that connection point. You're not making the leader do it. You're going to move through your side passes all by yourself, and especially your whips. You move to that connection point. Don't make the leader move you.
That, however, does not mean go early. You do still have to wait for an initiation from your partner.
We're going to cover that in section 3, Miss Megan, when we talk about your favorite topic.
Connection.
There it is. Leaders, here's what we can do wrong. And I said before, I don't know if the followers cause this more often or the leaders cause it. But if the leader is pulling all the time and pushing.
I do get a little more.
Yeah. If the leader's
being pulled.
pulling and pushing, so this comes back to something Megan said off camera, which is the leaders need to be cognizant, meaning if I dance with someone and they're moving, I don't have to do anything extra in my connection. If they're not moving, here's what will not solve the problem. What won't solve the problem is pulling them to that connection. If I'm dancing a sugar push and I need to get Megan connected here, and she's not moving, let's just say it's her fault. Fair enough, but you can't fix it on the dance floor. So what's my solution? I could try to pull her, but the more I pull her, the worse it gets. The other thing I could do is just pay attention to my partner and go, I'm just gonna stop her early. She's not moving by herself. So she goes away thinking there's no problem with her, but the dance is better between you. So leaders, try not to push and pull. Try to identify your follower. Go, oh, Megan isn't moving. I'll put the connection out in front of her. She's not going to go to the end of that whip. I'll move my own body to create the connection. So you're going to make adjustments for your follower. Keys to victory for the follower, move your behind up and down the slot all by yourself. And for the leader, try not to push and pull and identify the positions where you can adjust for your follower. All right, part number 3. I call this waving hands.
I call it swinging hands.
But really the topic of point number 3 is called
Connection.
So this is the problem we see. There's a couple different problems in connection, but my waving hands or swinging hands is one of them. But let's quickly define some connections and find the points that the good people are getting that a lot of us are missing. So quick definition, in my term, we have some sort of an away connection. Our bodies or centers moving away. We don't have to get too fancy. Some sort of an away connection and some sort of a towards connection. You can come up with your fancy terms if you want. Those work really well for us. So we need to find those connections. Obviously, some sort of away connection, and then in a push, we have some sort of a towards connection and some sort of an away connection. But here's the one people miss. Megan said it's her favorite one. You want to describe it?
Yes, so connecting right before the anchor. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. We need a little bit of connection on count 4 before we end up going 5 and back into that connection on count 6 for this pattern.
So in a push, it's a little tricky, which gets into the push-pull we talked about in the previous section, which is 1, connect, 3, and connect. Now, whose job is that, Megan?
Both.
Both. I like that answer. Both. Because remember, in the previous section, I could make it really hard for Megan by pulling her, and then she can't get connected towards me. And I can make it really hard pushing her, and she can't get towards me. So that's why number 2 is important. I have to pay attention to my partner, but provided I do my job, it's her job to close and connect. 4, it's her job to go back and find that. I didn't find it for her. Let me show you what that looks like. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I find it, and we get all this jostling. So
it does mean that you shouldn't move a whole lot in that section.
Correct. And a good way to find that is if I can just dance forward and away connection without there being a lot of falling between us, that'd be good. Here's 2 other places that this crops up, and it's the end of a whip. We said there's a connection point over here. 1, 2, 3, and we're in a away connection there, and it's my step across that brings my partner. So in a perfect world, there's a delay there. Even when you do more advanced patterns, 1, 2, 3, and it's the same idea. Doesn't matter how the pattern develops, there's that connection point away, and that's going to be a big deal. So make sure that you are connected away and towards, the followers moving through that space to get to that away connection in the whip, and that we're paying attention to the step before the anchor. 1, 2, 3, and connect. That kind of signifies the end of the pattern, and we can move together. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, connect, and then we can dance the end of it together. Even on a turn, 1, 2, 3, and connect. And whose job is that? Both. She's looking for it, I'm looking for it, and then we can come up with some cool stuff off of that. Now let's go off to tip number 4. All right, tip number 5 is messy footwork, where we're trying to do some of the cool stuff that we see, but for some reason, when we watch the video, it doesn't look very good. We call that messy footwork or wiggly footwork, and we're going to define it for you here. Let me take you through a little description. We have 2 feet, and our feet move in 2 tracks. So if I walked forward, this foot would track underneath me and land on its own separate track. Now, because we might have some turnout, it might look like it's on the same track, but I have 2 feet, they move on 2 tracks, and we have to understand tracking first. If I wanted to walk forward in a diagonal, I have 2 options. Either I can step across myself and across myself, which would feel stiff, or I can swivel my standing foot and track my feet, so I walk in 2 tracks that way, and swivel my feet and walk in 2 tracks. If I did that going backwards, right foot's out in front of us, I would drag my foot underneath me, create a different track at an angle, and a different track at an angle. So that's number 1, understanding tracking of your feet. That would mean things look very clean underneath us. The other place that this happens is in triple steps. So if we just did triple steps here, my right foot's going to stay where it is, and I'm going to triple step, and I'm not turning the foot that I'm stepping on. So there's nothing messy about this. Wherever that foot is, I might pick the heel up, but it's going back down in the same place. Here's the alternate. If this foot starts to move on its own in weird directions, you can start to see it looks messy. But then you might think, well, I see people doing all this wiggly footwork. What the heck is going on?
On purpose.
On purpose. So if I wanted to rotate and do this back triple, but I wanted to dig in and do it more at an angle, I'm going to have to swivel that foot that I'm standing on. Now, we talked about some of the ways that can go wrong. I don't want to swivel it before, because that looks very disconnected, right? Too early is disconnected. I obviously don't want to do it too late. That'll be stiff. Or I don't want to do it mistimed. That would look weird. Megan's going, how do I look that weird? But if I'm using this standing foot, this standing, or the supporting foot, this foot right here can add a little bit of pressure as I change my angle. And as I step here, I'm going to use the right toe to change my angle. Now, I'm stepping back with a little bit more organized footwork. Here's how this would happen in something we do all the time, like a push. We do this, and we have all this wiggly stuff underneath. What I'd rather do is 1, 2. If I want to change my angle, I rotate my standing foot as far as I want to rotate my angle. So, a couple of rules. I never want to step across myself because that will look stiff. I always want to swivel my foot, whether I'm going forward for 2 steps or back for 2 steps. I'm swiveling underneath me. That'll keep my footwork organized. And when I'm triple stepping, same idea. I don't want to not turn that foot. I want to be able to turn that foot, but using the free foot And that should help organize your footwork. Now, if you want to see how we do all this stuff, if Megan remembers to link it up, I did a really cool video on how this footwork actually works. So you can learn that there. But let's go on to tip number 5, where we tie it all together. Number 5, Miss Megan, is?
Less is more.
Or if you read our reader board, less wiggles, less patterns, and more stillness. Here's how this applies. Less is more. I want to have less wiggles, because if I wiggle all the time, it's not cool, right? If I stay still, and then I have a little wiggle, and then I stay still, it reads better. So less is more in your movements. That's going to segue also into our connection stuff. When we did 1, 2, 3, and connect, there's little going on. It feels great, but the little that goes on there starts to read as higher level dancing. So you can apply that step before the anchor part in section number 2, 1, 2, 3, and connect. That little bit of moment allows us to then do more, whether it's just a chill stretch, or Megan was like, but you're gonna do more, where we start to vary things. So that's the point you can think about, is the step before the anchor, and don't do too much. We see people do this all the time. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they have to do something else extra. Try to pick your spots. Less wiggling is more. Then we're gonna get to where we talked about stillness, right? The stillness of these moments allows the rest of it to read as cooler. And the final thing, and if you watch those Jack and Jill videos, you'll find this, less patterns is more. So I see people at a low level try to pull out everything but the kitchen sink. They're doing all the moves that they've seen everywhere, and they're not accomplishing them very well. They're difficult for the follower to follow. They're difficult to execute well. If you watch the higher level dancers, they have a set of moves that they're really good at. And they tend to wash, rinse, and repeat them to the music, to different partners in artistic ways. So whatever thing you're digging, I'm digging reverse whips, right? I can play with different ideas from my reverse whips. So pick a chunk of moves that you're good at. Now, from the followers, we didn't talk about this specifically. Styling things. Find 1, 2, 3 styling things that you can use in lots of different places. Don't try to master every styling technique under the sun and put it all in everywhere, but find a few things that suit you. Leaders, find a few patterns that suit you. You can build those, but what's going to happen is over time, you're only going to remember 8 at a time anyways, so you learn 4 more new ones, you're probably going to forget 4. So at any given time, you've just got your core set of patterns that you can dance well with different levels of dancers comfortably. All right, thanks for making it this far. If you really want to level up your West Coast swing, I have 2 things that you might enjoy. Number 1 is a really cool drills video I did with my favorite footwork drills for West Coast swing. You can watch that right here. The other is our ebook. It's 200 tips and tricks. You can just download that, click on a section. Do you want to improve your styling, musicality, you're a beginner, whatever topic ails you, click on that. It has all of our best resources all in one place, and you should have it.